Okay, let's dive into what is, without a doubt, one of the most challenging, but also one of the most important books of the 20th century. We're talking about Adorno and Horkheimer's Dialectic of Enlightenment. Now, this is a seriously dense book, but it makes this absolutely shocking claim. It says that the very idea of human progress, the thing we call reason, actually has the seeds of its own destruction baked right into it. And trust me, getting a handle on their argument is, well, it's pretty crucial for making sense of the world we live in right now.
So, to really get this book, you've got to put yourself in their shoes. Picture it. It's 1944. Adorno and Horkheimer, they're exiles. They've fled Nazi Germany, and now they're watching the entire world just burn. And they're wrestling with this massive, urgent question, probably the question of their time. How on earth did this happen? Right? How did the most advanced, the most supposedly rational societies on the planet end up creating the absolute peak of irrationality, fascism, and all-out global war?
Yeah, that's the big question. A new kind of barbarism. This idea, this mystery of how progress could somehow flip and turn back on itself. That's the engine for the whole book. And it's exactly what we're going to unpack together.
All right, Section 2, the promise of reason. To get to their answer, we have to start with the hero of the story, or at least the supposed hero. And that is the Enlightenment itself. You know, this huge intellectual movement built on one simple, beautiful promise, that reason, logic, could finally free us all from the darkness of myth and superstition.
And wow, this quote from Immanuel Kant, it just nails the whole vibe of the time, doesn't it? Dare to know. I mean, that became the battle cry for the entire Enlightenment. The idea was so simple, but so revolutionary. Use your own brain. Think for yourself. Stop just blindly accepting whatever the priests or the kings are telling you.
So what did daring to know actually look like in practice? Well, the goals were huge. I mean, we're talking about getting rid of all the myths and superstitions that held people back, helping humanity grow up, emerge from what Kant called its self-incurred immaturity. Basically, using our own rational minds to become the masters of our own destiny. You can't argue with that, right? It was a totally noble project.
But, and this is the big but, here's where Adorno and Horkheimer drop their bombshell. They pose this devastating question. What if that shiny new tool we built to set ourselves free, this powerful new kind of reason, what if it had a fatal flaw right from the start?
And that brings us to Section 3, Myth's Identical Twin. This is really the shocking heart of their whole argument. They're going to say that Enlightenment reason isn't the opposite of myth at all. No, it's its identical twin, and it's driven by the exact same hidden impulse. Okay, to get this, we need to wrap our heads around a key idea for them, domination. And look, when they say domination, they don't just mean a king or a dictator. It's way bigger than that. It's any force. It could be outside you or even inside your own head that dictates your goals, tells you what you should want and how you should go about getting it. It's the exact opposite of Kant's whole dare to know thing.
So check this out. At first glance, myth and science look like they couldn't be more different, right? On one hand, you've got mythic magic. It uses rituals, sacrifices, chanting. On the other, you've got Enlightenment science. It uses calculation, experiments, technology. But Adorno and Horkheimer look underneath all that and say, wait a minute. The goal, the shared goal, is exactly the same, to control nature, to dominate a world that seems chaotic and scary, all for the sake of self-preservation. They call this instrumental reason, basically using reason as nothing more than a tool to get what you want.
And they find their perfect poster boy for this, in a really surprising place. They point to Odysseus from Homer's Odyssey. Think about it. Odysseus doesn't just go around punching monsters. No way. He outsmarts them. He's all about cunning, calculation, and deception. He even represses his own desires. Remember when he has his men tie him to the mast so he can hear the siren's beautiful song but not crash his ship? He's dominating nature, and even his own inner nature, all through cold, hard calculation. For Adorno and Horkheimer, he's the first modern guy, sacrificing his own feelings and desires to survive and succeed.
Okay, Section 4, the logic of domination. So if reason is just a tool, right? A hammer for control and survival, with no built-in morality, where does that logic take us? Well, this is where things get really, really dark.
And it leads to this absolutely chilling question at the heart of the whole book. Look, if nature is just a pile of stuff for us to use, a bunch of resources to help us survive, then what's to stop us from seeing other people that way too? What happens when reason gets completely detached from any sense of empathy or ethics or compassion?
Well, to find the answer, they turn to maybe the most scandalous and controversial writer of the entire Enlightenment, the Marquis de Sade. And they make this wild claim that Sade's characters are actually the perfectly enlightened individuals. Take his character Juliet. She is pure, calculating reason. She figures out exactly what she wants and exactly how to get it, and she is totally 100% free from all those silly superstitions like morality or empathy or God.
Wow. And this quote from her just says it all, doesn't it? A dead God. To her, the whole idea is just comical, nonsensical. From the perspective of this kind of pure, instrumental reason, things like religion, God, morality, they're just illogical junk to be laughed at and thrown away. The only authority that matters is your own calculating self-interest.
So in this worldview, if you can call it that, something like pity or compassion, it's not a good thing. It's a flaw. It's an irrational weakness that just gets in the way of you achieving your goals. It's an obstacle you have to get over. And this is the gut punch from Adorno and Horkheimer. They argue that if you follow this cold, hard logic all the way to its end, you get to the gas chamber, the ultimate expression of rational efficiency applied to human beings who have been turned into nothing more than objects.
Okay, Section 5, the totally administered world. Now, for Adorno and Horkheimer, this whole logic of domination didn't just stop with the end of World War II. Oh no, they argue it kept going, and it actually built the kind of society that we're all living in today.
So you can see this tragic progression, right? It unfolds in these clear stages. First, reason is just a tool for survival. Then, that tool is used to dominate nature. Then, it's turned on other people. And then, in the final step, it's turned inward to dominate our own selves. Our creativity, our messy desires, everything. And what's the end result of all this? They call it the administered world.
So what is this administered world? Well, it's a society where everything is rationalized for maximum efficiency and control. Think about what they called the culture industry. Movies, music, all of it, just pumping out standardized stuff that keeps us entertained but passive. Our own creativity gets funneled into these neat, predictable little boxes. And it creates a world where the endless stream of information makes us, as they so brilliantly said, smarter and more stupid at once. We know a ton of facts, but we think for ourselves a whole lot less.
And that brings us all the way back to their most famous, most confusing line. Myth is already enlightenment, and enlightenment reverts to myth. But now, after everything we've talked about, it should finally click. The whole Enlightenment project, the thing that started out trying to destroy myth, ends up creating its own brand new myth. A totalizing myth of efficiency and data and control. It becomes the exact thing it swore it would destroy.
Which leaves us with one last really important question to think about. I mean, this book was written almost 80 years ago, but it feels like it could have been written yesterday, doesn't it? In our world, a world of algorithms, big data, and this relentless push for optimization, where everything has to be measured and made efficient, where do you see it? Where do you see this kind of instrumental reason turning into its own kind of myth, something we just accept without ever really questioning it? It's a pretty chilling thought to leave you with.